All right, let's dive into a book that's been a total game changer for so many people. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Look, if you've ever felt that frustration, trying to make a good habit stick or feeling completely stuck trying to kick a bad one, then this book is basically the operating manual you've been looking for. And today, we're not just going to skim the surface. No, we're going to get under the hood and really deconstruct its core engine so you can walk away understanding how to apply these powerful ideas in your own life.
So let's just get right to the core question, the one that James Clear tackles head-on. And honestly, it's a question we've all asked ourselves, right? Why is it that starting a good habit, like, say, hitting the gym regularly, feels like pushing a giant boulder uphill, while falling into a bad habit, like getting lost in that endless social media scroll, feels as easy as sliding right down? Well, there's a hidden system at play here, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so the book's first big foundational idea is all about the surprising power of getting just 1% better. It's a fundamental truth we tend to forget. We get so caught up in the idea of making these huge, dramatic changes that we completely miss the incredible power of tiny, consistent improvements.
And when you actually look at the math, it's pretty staggering. A tiny 1% improvement every single day doesn't just add up, it compounds. Over the course of a year, you end up almost 38 times better. But, and this is the scary part, the reverse is also true. A tiny 1% decline each day, it brings you practically down to zero. This is literally the compound interest of self-improvement. And it shows how those tiny, seemingly insignificant daily choices are what create that massive gap between who we are now and who we have the potential to become.
So, if compounding is so powerful, why do we give up so easily? Well, this graph explains it all. James Clear calls it the plateau of latent potential. See, we expect our progress to look like a nice straight line going up, but that's not how it works. In reality, the most significant results are always delayed. So we're working hard for weeks, maybe even months, down here in what he calls the valley of disappointment. We don't see any changes, so we get frustrated and we quit. But here's the crucial thing to remember. That effort isn't gone. It's not wasted. It's being stored. It's like building up potential energy right before you finally break through.
So, to get to that breakthrough, you need a pretty big mental shift. And that brings us to one of the most important, actionable ideas in the entire book. You need to forget about goals and focus on building systems instead.
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Think about it. Goals are the destination, the thing you want to achieve. But your systems, those are the processes that actually get you there. Clear makes a brilliant point. Winners and losers often have the exact same goals, right? Every single team in a league wants to win the championship, so the goal itself isn't what separates them. What separates them is their system, the daily practice, the coaching, the constant improvement.
Here's a super simple way to think about it. Your goal might be to clean your messy room. Great. You do it, and for a moment, you have a clean room. But a system is developing the habit of putting things away right after you use them. That system ensures your room stays clean. See the difference? Goals are about a momentary change. Systems are about continuous improvement. You could say goals are for people who want to win the game once. Systems are for people who want to keep playing.
Okay, this next idea, this is where things get really deep. It builds on the idea of systems, and for me, it's the most profound concept in the whole book. If systems are what drive our results, then what drives our systems? Well, James Clear's answer is our identity. He argues that true, lasting change isn't about your behavior at all. It's about your identity.
So imagine 3 layers of change, like concentric circles. On the very outside, you have your outcomes. That's what you get, the results. In the middle, you've got your process. That's what you do, your habits. But right there at the core, the deepest level, is your identity. That's what you believe about yourself. Now, most of us, we try to change from the outside in. We start with the outcome we want, like, I want to lose 20 pounds, and we try to force the process. And it usually doesn't stick.
Because the most powerful, lasting change happens from the inside out. It starts with identity. The goal shouldn't be to read a book. The goal should be to become a reader. The goal isn't just to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. When your habit is part of your identity, you stop fighting for it. You're not forcing yourself to do something. You're just being who you are. It feels effortless because it's authentic.
So the next logical question is, okay, how do you build a new identity? And the answer is actually really simple. You prove it to yourself with small wins. Think of it this way. Every single action you take is like casting a vote for the type of person you want to be. Going to the gym once won't magically transform your body, of course not, but it does cast a vote for the identity of, I am a person who works out. And over time, as you cast more and more of these votes, they add up. They become real evidence that starts to change how you see yourself.
Which brings us to the really practical how-to part of the book. If the goal is to cast those votes consistently, then how do we design our habits to make it as easy as possible? Well, this is where James Clear gives us a simple but absolutely brilliant 4-law framework. It basically turns changing your habits into an engineering problem.
First things first, you got to understand the basic mechanics of any habit. Every single one of them, good or bad, follows this simple 4-step loop. You have the cue, which is the trigger, then the craving, which is the motivation. The response is the actual habit you perform. And finally, the reward is the payoff that tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's do it again. Every habit you have runs on this exact loop. And this is where everything we've talked about becomes super practical. If you want to build a good habit, you just have to engineer that loop in your favor. You need to make the cue obvious, make the craving attractive, make the response easy, and make the reward satisfying. And what about breaking a bad habit? You just flip it. You do the exact opposite. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. That's it. This is the core toolkit you need to literally redesign your own behavior.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. We've talked about how tiny changes create remarkable results over time, why systems beat goals every single time, and how our habits are really just shaping our identity. So, what's the big takeaway from all this?
Well, I think it boils down to 3 key things. First, never underestimate your daily choices. Those tiny habits matter way more than you think because they're the entry point to massive change. Second, shift your focus. True transformation isn't about what you achieve, it's about who you're becoming. Ask yourself who you want to be and then start taking small steps to prove it. And third, stop relying on willpower. It's not the answer. The most successful people aren't heroes of self-control. They're just masters of designing their environment to make good habits the easiest and most obvious choice. So I'm going to leave you with the book's central challenge, a question for you to think about right now. Forget about some massive, overwhelming change you think you need to make. Instead, just ask yourself this. What is one tiny, almost ridiculously easy action you can take today to cast a vote for the person you want to become? Because that one small action, that single atomic habit, that's where everything begins.